Good morning everybody, Ricky Tang here. Today the wonderful folk at Fraser's of Gloucester have lent me the keys to a Suzuki. Now a couple of videos ago I did say that the majority of the demo bikes at Fraser's are Kawasaki's, but they do have a Suzuki franchise as well, so they've got a few Suzukis. So, which Suzuki? It is a GSXS-S750. So very much a mid-range naked style bike. Unfortunately, I wasn't sure what bike I would be riding today until I turned up at the dealership. So I haven't got many details to hand. First impressions, I like how I sit on this bike. It feels a bit smaller physically than the Z900. The seat's definitely softer. I found the Z900 seat a little bit firm after an hour. This initially feels quite squishy, this seat, by comparison. So let's do a little bit of slow speed bimbling. The throttle mapping seems quite well behaved so far at slow speeds. Let's get down into second, more likely to be a bit on off. Ugh. That's doing okay. That I like that. If you're smooth coming on with the throttle, a smooth roll on, then it responds appropriately, doesn't feel jerky, so that's nice for town work, I think. Clutch is light, not quite as light as the last two Kawasaki's I've ridden, but still light. It's no trouble at all. And the gearbox feels so far nice and snickety. The gear changes are short and direct, and don't take much effort at all to change gear. Just find neutral very easily there as well. I have my own opinions on 750s. I thought they're pretty much a kind of a dead market. 600s and 650s, twins and fours. To my mind, they seem to be more popular in the market nowadays. And then you got Z900s and MT09s, street triples, that sort of thing. So I thought, is there really a place for a 750 nowadays? And according to James at Fraser's, yes, there is. The 750 is actually still doing quite well for them, for Suzuki. It's basically why it's still in the lineup. So they're certainly selling a few of these, and since that is the case, I better get out and see what it's like. I do like the gearbox. Yeah, the throws are kind of the gear lever quite short. You feel a definite click, unlike my BM. So I had to keep banging on about BM. I've mentioned in one of my videos that I don't like the gear change. It feels quite vague. It's not positive at all. So this is a much nicer gearbox action. But it's not going to wear the top of your boot out though. It's not stiff. So when I saw James wheel out the this Suzuki, I thought to myself, oh, LCD dash. It's a bit of a come down after the last two Kawasaki's I've ridden with their lovely multicolour TFT dash. But I've got to be honest, looking at that, I quite like the design. Got a rev counter across the top. Speed's nice and easy to see. I've even got a gear indicator, which is appreciated. I didn't know what bike I'd be riding until this morning. Haven't had a chance to study the switch gear, but I can see I've got traction control and it's on level 2. I've got a clock, which is nice. Let's press some buttons and see what I can do. So I've got a mode button on the left switch gear. That so far is just taking me through trip meter settings. If I press select once, pressing up and down is now letting me adjust traction control by the looks of it. And you can adjust traction control while riding, which is nice. You just have to be off the throttle. I guess off the throttle and off the brakes. And you can go straight to off as well. So now I've got a traction control warning light, because you can actually, that off is actually one of the 4 positions. So off 1, 2 and 3. I'm not sure if this has wheelie control built in. I won't be finding out. Just in case the guys at Fraser's are watching. I will not be finding out whether this bike has wheelie control. I don't do wheelies. Did have a moment of confusion earlier. I felt like I'd indicated left and hit the switch gear and pulled it left, but I wasn't indicating. It seems that the indicator switch, as you pull it left or pull it right, it seems to have kind of a 2-stage motion. Don't think I've felt that before. It is 749cc as it turns out. We have the up and down mode options here. There we go, that's better. If I push that initially, that's just going through the clock settings down here, the trip computer. Press select, and you'll see a little extra graphic appear next to the traction control list. Let me just press select again. The black lines on the left side will disappear. And then press select again, they come back. And then going up and down on mode changes the traction control options. So you've got off at the top, and then 1, 2 and 3. Clock, rev counter, fuel gauge, which is nice, and temperature. And buttons at the top, so you can also adjust at the top as well. Now there are some throwbacks to an earlier time. You've got halogen bulb there. I guess that's an H4. There's a single bulb for high and low beam. And you've got normal bulbs, conventional bulbs for the indicators. But let's do the lights thing. Let's see what the lights look like. We've got low beam. And high beam. Oh, if I can find it. There you go, I think I found it. Certainly bright enough. You know, the yellow halogen lights, or yellowish. I actually think I can feel the heat off it. Yeah, I think I'd probably swap them out for LED bulbs, or attempt to anyway. This is what I mean by the indicators. So if I go left, I'll go right because I think the warning light's about there for the right indicator. If I push right and start pushing right, there's still nothing, no indicator yet. If I go a bit further, now we're indicating. So it seems to stop there unless I push a bit further forward, then it goes on and clicks. And there might be a reason for that. Maybe the smaller movements change some modes. It'd be nice to think that, but I kind of don't think so. to more specs to hand. So like I said, 749cc, 114 PS, which is a bit more than I expected actually for a 750. I was expecting to be about 100 PS. That's probably just over 110, 112 horsepower, something like that. So that's pretty decent for a road style bike, and not an out and out sports bike. 81 newton meters of torque, so just under 60 foot-pounds of torque, so that's reasonable. So the 750 is 213 kilos wet, which is actually a kilo heavier than the Z900. Now I've got to tell you, my experience, that feels lighter than the Z900. So that's a bit of a shocker. It's not going to put me off it because it actually feels lighter in the hand, so to speak. Doesn't tell me about the calipers. Doesn't tell me whether twin piston or 4-piston calipers, just that we can see their radial mount. 120/70 ZR17 tyre at the front, 180/55 ZR17 at the back, and a 16-litre fuel tank. 820mm seat height, so that's 32.3 inches. And I can certainly flat foot it, no trouble at all with my 32-inch inside leg. I always thought in pictures that this little section looks a little bit droopy, like it's melted on the bike. But overall, I think the bike's not bad looking at all. Yeah, just a little bit behind the times in terms of the lighting. I'll have to flash up the price on the screen because I don't know the price of this bike, the RRP, but I will let you know about now. Oh, it's got a little belly panel on there as well, which is nice. Anyway, enough waffle, let's get back on the bike. Oh, I like the sound, the induction sound when you give the throttle a twist. Brakes are not grabby, they're not sharp. So that accelerated pretty well. You've got to bear in mind that this bike's still got less than 100 miles on the clock as well. But still, you can't expect it to pull like the Z900. But certainly easier to get up to speed than on the 650 Ninja. I just braced myself. There's a kind of a pothole in the road just, and I really braced myself for it. But the bike dealt with that actually really well. No wind buffeting either so far. Fortunately, quite a few cars. Stops play a little bit. Oh yeah, when you want to get some overtaking done, it's certainly very willing. Didn't feel breathless. If the bike was more run in, I think it would be quite fun chasing the red line where legally allowed, officer. Fifth gear feels pretty strong, rolling on and off on an A road like this in fifth. You don't really need a lot more power than that. Unless you're, you know, a real thrill seeker, which of course I'm not. Feels a little firm at these speeds. These roads aren't the best. Well, what roads are great nowadays? Gotta say, it's putting a smile on my face. And just put a massive bug on my visor as well. Great. Obviously for some people, probably younger people, doing that sort of A road, they might be in fourth or even third, load of revs. That's not quite me, I'm afraid. But fifth gear was a good gear in my mind. It was responsive, it pulled well, and it'll do anything from, you know, 50 to miles an hour without any trouble in fifth. Right then, let's see if we can boogie a little bit. Got no quick shifter or auto blipper on this bike. I'm not sure if they're options, but shifting without the clutches is no bother, so that's okay. I do like the sound it makes. It's a kind of sound that should be coming from the exhaust, but it's somehow coming from the airbox instead. Yeah, good work on the induction noise there. And nowadays some manufacturers are actually tuning the induction sound for pleasing acoustics, believe it or not. Oh, do I get a chance to make a bit of progress? Yes, I think I do. Yeah, this feels great actually. You can't expect it to be as fast as the 900, and it's not, but what it's got is very usable. It does feel like you're working the engine, and from that point of view, arguably it might be more fun than the 900. So I like the riding position so far. Feet are a little swept back, but not too far at all. Doesn't feel too sporty. Handlebars, funnily enough, now I'm thinking about it, I could probably do with slightly wider handlebars with have my arms a little bit further apart, just a little bit. I can feel the outside edges of my hands basically kind of resting on the handlebar weights. Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying this, if you can hear me. Hard braking, not the hardest, but yeah, slows down quick as well. So I'm having some preconceptions blown here. This is actually quite a lot of fun. I shouldn't be surprised. I've owned 750s before. Oh, actually, two one 750 and two 800s. So I know what they can do performance wise. You have to try a little harder than on some bigger engine bikes, but they're still not slow. Feels perhaps a little fidgety on these roads. Yeah, feels a little firm at the higher speeds. But interestingly, not quite as compliant as it is at lower speeds. I wish I was clever enough to tell you why, but I'm not. Well, traction cut in then. I guess the bike has got anti-wheelie. Because the power certainly cut out then, just briefly. It's a bit abrupt. But now I know what it feels like, so that's all good. So, what don't I like about the bike? And kind of what do I like about the bike? Well, dislikes. Like I said, the lighting, conventional bulbs everywhere. Well, apart from the back, the rear light's LED and it looks quite nice. But indicators in the front bulbs all incandescent. I kind of wish they weren't. Doesn't look very modern. Yeah, indicator switch. Unless there's a reason, it's kind of got a double throw in both directions. That's a bit weird, that is. And you might end up thinking you're indicating and you're not, which could be a bit risky. Perhaps more suspension adjustment would be nice. It feels a bit firm at higher speeds, a little bit fidgety. Strange enough, it seems to feel nicer at slower speeds. But I haven't got time to mess about with the suspension. It might be just a little tweak on preload, might just be enough to sort it out for me. I just give the back brake a good trod and well, ABS kicked in. But it feels okay, not too strong, not too weak. What else that I'm not a fan of particularly? Clutch lever, not span adjustable. Now the good things I like about the bike. Yeah, I like the riding position. And I like the fact that it feels smaller than I guess it really is. It does feel quite small. It feels like a relatively low bike, despite the fact it's got a 32 and a bit inch seat height. I kind of feel a little low down in the environment. It kind of gives me the impression of a smaller bike. Probably the thing I like most about the bike is the engine. 750 has been a bit of a surprise for me. It's that induction noise for the airbox is excellent. So I like the sound it makes. And I really like the performance as well. The performance is better than I expected. So, the big question, would I take the Suzuki GSX-S750 out on a second date? Well, I have enjoyed my time with the bike. I've really enjoyed the engine. You know, it's not a super naked, it's not going to rip your head off, but it still performs well, I think, and it sounds great. I don't know what it is for a standard bike through the airbox and kind of in the cockpit area. It sounds really nice. Handling is good for the most part, but a little fidgety at speed. There's not an awful lot of electronics, but to answer the question, yes, I'd actually would take this bike out on a second date. There's something about it which I wasn't expecting to find. It just feels enjoyable to ride, especially on the A roads. And I wasn't expecting that. I was just kind of expecting, with my preconceived ideas, a slower, heavier Z900. Technically speaking, it's actually both of those things, but for some reason I've enjoyed it a bit more. I think it's because being a smaller engine, you can use more of that engine, and it seems a bit more rewarding to ride. All depends on what you're looking for, but I for one can say that I had a good time on the bike, and if another opportunity came up to ride this machine, I wouldn't say no, especially once the bike's run in. So I hope you've enjoyed coming out with me on my date. I've certainly had a good time. There'll be more videos to come, so see you again soon. Cheers.